My husband, 35M, keeps calling me 32F names. How do I get him to stop? I, 32F, gave birth almost 10 weeks ago. At the same time, my husband's 35M father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The cancer was really aggressive and my father-in-law passed away last week. The past 2.5 months have been rough. My husband would go and see his father every day after work to get as much time as he can with him. This means that I was at home by myself most of the time taking care of the newborn, and my husband tries to help whenever he's home, which isn't much. Safe to say that my husband has been quite stressed trying to juggle time with his father, work, and helping me with the newborn. But because of that, there has been on multiple occasions where he would call me names. My husband would watch our baby whenever I shower. When I came out of the shower once, I saw that he was holding the baby and was on his phone. The baby was starting at the phone as well, probably captivated with the phone light. I told my husband to limit screen time in front of the baby. His response? "Shut up, bitch. I'm currently on maternity leave and the government paid income is around $2,000 a month, which is a lot lower than my normal income of $8,000 a month. This means that my husband's income is currently the main contribution to the household." I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I was asking him for more help with the baby, and after some back and forth, he called me a low-income ass idiot. I ordered a new iPhone for my mother-in-law through my work plan. After a few days, my husband asked me if it shipped yet, and I realized that I needed to click the approve button on my work email before the order would process. He called me an imbecile. Each of these occasions, I had told him that I do not appreciate being called names, and each time he would admit that it was wrong to call me them. He would also try to justify it and said that his father raised him with high expectations, and while it was not right for him to call me names, he's not being unreasonable for being upset with me. We all have our roles in this household and I'm not putting in my fair share of contribution. Each time he would end the argument by saying, "Are we done now?" and would try to hug, kiss to make up and brush the issue aside. I know grief and stress makes people do regrettable things, but I'm not a saint and I'm not going to stand around to be some verbal punching bag. How do I tell him that it hurts me each time? Words can't be taken back, and I find it more and more unforgivable each time he calls me names like that. His father raised him with high expectations. I raise my son with high expectations as well, like how to treat a lady and the mother of your child. High expectations, my ass, he is abusive, and needs to stop that or you should move on. Absolutely no call for that kind of talk. In another post he threatens you with not letting you take the car to meet with a friend who has a baby, too. He is abusive. Unfortunately, it's not that rare for abusers to let their mask slip after they think they got you trapped with marriage or a kid. You should get your ducks in a row and get out there safe. Please read, why does he do that? This is verbal abuse. He thinks he has you locked down now that you have a baby, so he's letting his mask slip. You're here to be an emotional punching bag as far as he's concerned. Do you have supportive family or friends who can take you in? Because it's time for you to leave. www.loveisrespect.org. So if I've read this correctly, in his mind verbal abuse is the equivalent to high expectations, right? So he feels that it is perfectly okay to treat the mother of his child like dirt, and so the child should be raised in an environment where the abuse of women is normalized and acceptable, right? Sadly, your husband has shown his true colors here, and it has nothing to do with grief. You need to get your documents and finances in order and leave. Go live with your parents or a relative or a friend, but leave. Find a good lawyer and divorce him. I know the Reddit default is divorce, but your husband has shown you what the future with him is like, and it is ugly. Do you really want to live in that environment for the rest of your life? This is not normal. You don't deserve it. Take your baby and get away from this pile of garbage. Stress and grief don't make you say those things to someone you love and respect. Has he shown signs of this behavior before marriage? How should I, 26 female, tell my 29 male boyfriend that I had an abortion? 2 months into the relationship with my 29 male boyfriend, I got pregnant. I never told him. It was early in our relationship, and even though I was certain about him, I wasn't ready to be a parent. I don't know why I didn't tell him. I guess I didn't even want to burden him with the thought and the worry because I was so certain I wasn't going to keep it. Well, 2 years later. In a stable and super secure relationship. Moved in and building a life together. I'm pregnant again. My boyfriend is so happy and expressed always wanting to start a family with me. He's reading books, researching every little thing and wanting to attend every appointment. I'm not sure what to do. I'm worried he'll find out somehow. Maybe the doctor will mention it, or maybe it's in paperwork or something. I don't know. Aside from the worry of him finding out, I feel guilty. I feel like I should have had an open and honest conversation with him 2 years ago. I was selfish. But I thought I was doing what's best. How do I approach this conversation? I wouldn't mention it to him. If somehow it comes up through the doctor, very unlikely, and he finds out that way, I'd simply reply, "We were only together 2 months when it happened and I made the best decision for me at that time." Now, being in a fully committed relationship, of course it would be a decision we made together. But back then, we were just starting out, so I did what I thought was best. You don't need to apologize. As a man that was in a similar position when I started dating my partner, I'd rather not know. I was quite sad and hurt when I found out. Again, we were only together for 3 months at the time. I would have dropped everything for her, but she wasn't ready. In hindsight, she did the right thing, as we have a real and solid relationship rather than one out of obligation. You don't have to tell anyone or even a doctor if you don't want to. Don't say a word. It's not going to be brought up by the doctor because of confidentiality. You don't tell him anything. Why would you bring up something you could never change that could cause catastrophic damage to your relationship? I'm not saying it would, but you have no idea which way it's going to go. If he's okay with it, sure, no problem. But if he's pissed he didn't have a say in the matter, he will never look at you the same. Never. First thing first, for the assumption makers, you had every right to abort the pregnancy. I'm looking at this from how I would perceive all this. If my girlfriend withheld this information from me, I would view it as active lying. If I was told at 2 years, it would confuse me. If I was told at 3 years, I'd be more confused. 4 years. Even more. I think if he cares about you, he will understand why you kept it from him when it first happened. I think he may feel betrayed that you took this long to tell him, given you are now in a committed relationship. If you choose to tell him, I would tell him. It seems you kind of want to tell him and are posting on here to look for people to either tell you to tell him, or give you permission to keep lying. Husband, M, 45 inches, killed kids, F, 12, pet rooster. Should I leave him? He brought chickens home 5 months ago without telling me, but I was fine. We raised them, got them in the co-op. They're very cute. Then all of a sudden he shows up with a rooster. I was upset because I didn't want a rooster, but he made me feel bad about being mad, so we kept it. The previous owners told us if it doesn't work out to please give him back because they loved that rooster. The rooster was a little aggressive with him and would peck him, so he thought he would kick it and show it who's boss. The kids loved this rooster and thought of it as a pet. Today he tells me he's going to take it out back and kill it. I told him to just return it to the previous owners. He announces to the kids he will kill it. They are sad but always afraid to upset him, so they don't show it. He made one of them carry the rooster to where he snapped the neck. I am disgusted and so mad. I feel like he could have easily returned it, but just wanted to kill it. He is an aggressive man and I feel like I just want to leave him. I just think those is evil behavior and I don't want to live like this. Problem is the 2 older kids are his biologically, even thought I've raised them, and the youngest is ours together. Separating would be messy and my son would essentially lose his sisters. You absolutely should leave this abusive schmuck. Killing family pets is classic abuse. And the fact that the kids were afraid to even show their upset shows that the trauma has already cut deep. It's _possible for you to end up with custody of all the kids in this abusive situation. You need to talk to a lawyer. They are sad but always afraid to upset him, so they don't show it. You know you need to leave him. He killed that animal in front of them to threaten and harm them. Because he was annoyed by it. And probably because they loved it. How will he escalate? Cruelty to animals is a huge red flag for antisocial behavior. Have you adopted the 2 stepchildren? Yes, I'd leave him. There was absolutely no reason to kill the rooster instead of returning it. He just wanted to feel what it's like to kill. This is very typical progression for a lot of murderers. They start out with bad anger fits, start taking it out on animals, and then wonder killing a person would feel.
On a side note, why are the kids so terrified to make him upset?
Does he beat them?
Animal cruelty is a crime.
I found that goes into more detail with that each state considers cruel or whatever, but I'd venture to say snapping your pet's neck in front of their children is not chill in the eyes of the law. This action, and others like it I would assume he does based on this, could help you build a case to gain custody of all your kids.
I'm sorry this is happening to you.
Sending love.
Your children are traumatized. I'm sure they have been for a while or they wouldn't have gone out there with them. Do you want your son to turn into his father?
Because that's what's gonna happen. You're showing your son this is how men treat their family. I do not believe for a second he hasn't abused you. Even if it hasn't been physical yet.
I don't want to be cruel, but what is it going to take? You are not safe.
Messy is the least of your worries. I, 30F, said a hurtful thing to my 32M husband. How can I amend? We are on vacation in his family beach house.
He basically spent all summer here since he was born.
Here he have a friend. Let's call her A, 31F, and while she's pretty nice I can't stand how he becomes when she's in the city. Everything revolves around her. He wants always to hang out with her. Last year for me was a nightmare. I was freshly out of my postpartum depression and wanted to spend time as a family, but no, every occasion A was involved. Make it worse, A was his childhood crush. I don't know if there's ever been something between the two. And me and her look very much alike. Even her mother says that we look like sisters. We have the same features and build, just different colors. This year our relationship was rocky. We had some issues that we are working on, especially me feeling neglected by him.
And I'm very self-conscious since I've gained some weight due to stress, binge eating and health issues.
To be honest, I feel always a sore spot for me, since I feel the discounted version of her which he settled for.
So to the discussion.
Tonight was the only night we could go and have dinner without our toddler, 2M. For me was really important. Way to connect back as a couple and waiting for this date since May. This afternoon I was caring for the baby all day, and I was basically exhausted. I went to have a chat with my husband and he said, "Oh, I wants to go have a happy hour." And I was like, "Not tonight." I admit I was a bit harsh. He got quickly angry and shut down. Our toddler kept calling for him and he didn't even budge. I got angrier and said, "You are angry with me, not with your son," replied to him. And he replied, "I'm trying not to answer rudely to him. If you hadn't been disrespectful we would be not in this situation." I saw red. I got really upset and told him, "Cancel tonight reservation. Go to the happy hour and while you are at it screw her." He went ballistics and even broke a water bottle. He got dressed and went on a 2-hour hike. Came back, got dressed and went to the restaurant, while I put baby to bed etc. We had the dinner together, but it was awful. He said that I really messed up and offended him and his childhood friend saying that and that she was his only friend for years.
I'm sorry, my jealousy got the best at me, and I don't know how to make it better. I've already apologized but we went bed angry. Edit. I don't think she would be interested. She's getting married in a month and a half.
And truly, I don't have nothing against her. She's nice. During the year they exchange a couple of messages and we live states apart. The problem is when we are here that they always want to hang up. Also my mistake that I didn't explain well is never the two of them. I'm always tagging along with the baby. The main issue of yesterday was that it was supposed to be our night after a year of SHT. He's still pretty pissed at me and barely speaking. I couldn't sleep this night and my stomach is really close. Basically I'm feeling like trash. Let's say I'm not coping well. A better question is, why would you make amends? He has been a garbage husband for a long time now, according to your post history.
What is he doing to make amends with you? I read your other post. You need to kick the whole package of husband and A to the curb. Like yesterday. He is a manipulative
Your last situation sucked and this one is worse.
This situation won't get better.
So, plan a proper exit and get out of it, before you have more kids with this manipulative asshole and his side piece, who is clearly more important than you.
Nonsense.
At his age, he's not offended.
Is he 16 yo? Do not allow him to minimize him prioritizing her over the mother of his child.
He still has a crush on her.
You resent sharing your husband with another woman. I would be speaking to a divorce attorney instead of him.
Leave him.
He's still into her, he's violent, he ignored your son.
He went for a 2-hour walk? He'll keep apologizing and the violence will escalate. Oh great, a man that polices your tone.
Bet that's super attractive.
You have a right to be pissed, fuck this noise.